Dr. James Weisfeld-Adams was an accomplished physician and researcher who made significant contributions to the field of clinical genetics and metabolism. Born in Hastings, UK in 1979, he pursued his medical degree at the University of Aberdeen in Scotland. His passion for understanding inborn errors of metabolism led him to complete a combined pediatric and metabolic genetics residency, followed by a Clinical Biochemical Genetics fellowship at Mount Sinai School of Medicine in New York. In January 2012, Dr. Weisfeld-Adams joined the faculty at Mount Sinai, where he focused on research related to homocystinuria, cobalamin defects, and urea cycle disorders. He actively participated in various clinical care initiatives, including serving as the local site principal investigator for the National Urea Cycle Disorders Consortium and European Network and Registry for Homocystinurias and Methylation Defects. His dedication to patient care and academic pursuits earned him respect from colleagues worldwide. In December 2013, Dr. Weisfeld-Adams moved to Colorado, becoming an assistant professor in pediatrics at the University of Colorado School of Medicine. He continued his work in metabolic disorders, mentoring graduate genetic counseling students, medical genetic residents, and biochemical genetics fellows. Despite health challenges, he remained committed to his academic endeavors, contributing insightful comments to the field up until the last week of his life. James was known for his compassionate and reflective personality, making him easy to collaborate with and considerate of his colleagues. His love for both Exmoor in England and Scotland remained strong, even as he embraced his new home in the USA. Tragically, his promising academic career was cut short by renal cancer, but his legacy lives on through his contributions to medicine and the lives he touched. He is survived by his wife Emma and their 2 children. HCU Network America is bestowing this HCU Hero Award posthumously to Dr. Weisfeld-Adams in light of the many contributions he made to our community through his research and clinical care and the passion and commitment he demonstrated and he did for us. May his memory continue to inspire those who follow in his footsteps.
The first time I spoke with Dr. Weisfeld-Adams was when we were setting up clinic introduction calls in 2017, the beginning and inception of our organization. These calls typically lasted 30 to 45 minutes, but when James found out we planned to include all types of remethylation disorders, specifically cobalamin disorders, he got very excited. He laid out his plans and hopes for the community, including a patient registry. He shared his hopes that this would lead to better understanding and multiple clinical trials. Our call ended up lasting 3 hours long. It was a call I will always remember. His enthusiasm and energy were electric and radiated through his every fiber. While my time with James was short, and his impact will leave me with a lifetime of motivation for the community. I really appreciate the time that I had with him and his generosity and willing to share his time, and I appreciate his family for sharing himself with us. So, Dr. Baker, do you want to come up? Do you want to talk and then do the video, or do you want to do video? Okay. I think it's probably easier that way. So,
So, hi, I'm Pete Baker. I'm one of the metabolic physicians here in Colorado, at Children's Colorado. I remember him talking about that phone call after he got off the phone with you. That's funny that you mentioned that. He was very excited even after that, and his excitement and enthusiasm have carried on since his passing, and in the field and also in our clinic. We talk about him frequently. I wanted to talk a little bit. So we have a video that our colleagues put together about James and sort of the legacy that he's left and how he's remembered. But I wanted to focus a little bit on patient care. I know that a lot of you all are from out of town. You probably didn't know James personally. There's a few people here who met him as their physician. But I wanted to highlight some of the things that I titled as James Superhero that made him a superhero. In our clinic, when he was with us and even after. there's a few things. So I knew him and worked with him for over 5 years. And he had hundreds of patients that he saw when we were working together. We shared an office, and I think I say that in the video. So he has a dear place in my heart. But I saw him work with patients and families, and there's a few things that I saw that really resonated that I just wanted to sort of point out and hone in on why he was such a special physician. First, he took a lot of time with patients, and often his clinics would run over, and it wasn't because of inefficiency, it was because he was sitting and listening to patients and families. He was listening to their needs, he was listening to really trying to hone in on how to best care for that particular family at that particular time. And it was a really wonderful thing because each conversation, each interaction was unique to whatever family he was talking with at the time. Time-wise, he would spend hours, I would say, even after the clinic visit, talking to families by email, by telephone, calling results, calling them to see how they were doing, following up on conversations that they'd had. So communication with James was a huge thing, and I think it was what really made him special to the families that he took care of. One of the other things, so we have a large team that we work with, genetic counselors, dietitians, nurses, pharmacists. James was very good about incorporating everybody in that team to care for the family, bringing everybody together and making sure they were on the same page. And I think that enhanced families' experiences when they came to see him, but also incredibly improved patient care and the quality of patient care they got. Finally, he was a fighter. James was spicy. James was salty. He would be on the phone frequently for a long time, talking with insurance companies, trying to get approval for drugs. I heard him yell a couple times. So he's very passionate about that in a very good way, and it was something that I wish I could be a little bit more tenacious like he is. But definitely advocating that way. And then, like Danae said, he reached out to family groups, to interest groups, to researchers, to pharma companies, anything that he could do to bring the latest technologies to the patients that he cared for. One of those things was high-dose cobalamin C, high-dose hydroxycobalamin for cobalamin C. At the time when he came to work with us, it was something that we had been floating around and talking about. There still isn't very much out there in terms of literature to support having high-dose hydroxycobalamin in cobalamin C or other cobalamin disorders, but he sort of pioneered and pushed high-dose betaine, however y'all say it, and high-dose hydroxycobalamin in some of these disorders. So in terms of advancing the field, his impact is still felt. So I'm going to cue up the video, but just in conclusion, James was a good friend, a great colleague, and a great physician in terms of caring for his patients. And I'm really, really happy that he's getting this award and that his family could be here to accept it for him. So thank you, Emma, for coming, and boys, thank you guys. But yeah, if you could cue the video, thank you.
James Weisfeld-Adams. He's an amazing doctor and friend. I started on faculty here in Colorado in 2013, around the same time that James was being hired on from Mount Sinai. And he and I shared an office for a couple of years until we were both gifted our own offices with windows. We're the youngest faculty here at the time, and we both had young kids, so we had a lot in common. We had a lot of text messages that we shared that I still have, dating back to 2013. Trying to navigate life, trying to navigate the system here. We had great conversations about patients, colleagues, and our families. I heard a lot about EHOD, and I heard a lot about the Homocystinuria Network of America, and classic homocystinuria, cobalamin C, which he always referred to as CBLC, got us saying it. A learned a ton about UK politics, about the British monarchy, about what constituted owing someone a pint. He was a great guy. We learned a lot from each other, and we bounced a lot of questions off of each other and tried to gauge things like patient care and office dynamics and things like that. Sometimes we prank each other. One time, and I don't know why I did this, I put a stuffed bunny in his bag as a practical joke. About 2 months later, on my birthday, it was around the same time that I'd been asked by a couple people randomly if I knew I looked like Ricky Gervais, who's a comedian. I came into my office and my birthday present was this, the same bunny with Ricky Gervais' face pasted on it. I still keep it in my office to this day, and it reminds me of James and his great sense of humor. We still talk around here about James and his dedication to patient care, his amazing bedside manner, and his great sense of fashion. He wore some really awesome socks very frequently, and his tireless fight to improve patients' lives. I have so many great memories of working with him, and I still wear fancy socks in his honor.
Hi everyone, my name is Stuart Scott, and I'm a close friend of James Weisfeld-Adams. We trained together at Mount Sinai years ago, and we've kept in touch ever since. Him and Emma moved to Denver, and I've subsequently moved to the West Coast. But I just wanted to submit a letter or video and say thank you to everyone at the HCU Award committee. James is extremely deserving of this. And it means a lot to those of us who were very close to him prior to when we lost him in 2018. He's a very incredible person, and we think about him all the time. And for those of you who may not know, we do have an annual lecture in his honor in the Department of Pediatrics and Genetics still going at Mount Sinai. So if you Google James Weisfeld-Adams at Mount Sinai, that'll take you to the homepage where there's still also the opportunity to donate to the foundation that continues to support this really important lecture. And so this was, pediatric metabolic diseases was a huge passion of his. So again, I just wanted to express my gratitude as a close friend of his, and I really appreciate that this award is being bestowed to him in his honor. So again, many thanks for me. Cheers to everyone from China.
Hi, my name is Janelle Kierstein. I'm a genetic counselor at Children's Hospital, Colorado. I had the privilege of working with Dr. James Weisfeld-Adams, and it is my honor to be part of remembering him today. James was an amazing man, bright, hardworking, and passionate about what he did. But even more than that, he was motivated by a deep compassion for patients and families. He would go out of his way to follow up with patients, even calling parents at late hours in the evening just to check up and make sure everything was taken care of. He did things personally, so there was no task beneath him. He didn't delegate downhill, but he made sure that patients were well taken care of and supported the dietitians and the genetic counselors in doing what we do best. He was definitely a hands-on team member. James was especially passionate about homocystinuria and cobalamin disorders, which I'm sure you all know, and was always pursuing a better clinical outcome for those patients. He was also very involved in our families with X-linked adrenoleukodystrophy, and even in his final weeks was working on a manuscript about care guidelines for that population. His intellect, dedication, and compassion have been greatly missed. As a friend, I just miss him as a person and his spirit and hope as part of the team. We still have a bulletin board outside of the office in our team hallway with pictures of James. So every day as I leave my office and head to clinic, I see his smiling face and I miss him. And it reminds me of how important this work is. Thank you so much for honoring him.
I miss having James around because James was very engaged with his patients with homocystinuria, whether they had classic CBS deficient homocystinuria or cobalamin C. I still find many charts of him with notes in it where he was exploring other dosing schedules, pushing the field forward. I'll miss James for that any day.
I had the pleasure of working with James for several years in the clinic. James showed just an incredible dedication to his patients and the management for their care. He had a wonderful bedside manner with the patients and their families, making really difficult diagnoses a little more palatable for them. He was fun to work with. We often had a lot of laughs in our workrooms, and not to mention his wonderful socks that had every season possible, and was always fun conversation piece for us. We think about James often in the clinic when seeing his follow-up cases and patients, and always think about him when we see specific diagnoses that we know that he would be really happy to follow those patients and provide good care for. So he is very much missed in our hallway, in our clinic, and in the patient room.
I want to say thank you to the entire team at Children's and Brittany and Brandon for working hard to make that video. It's extremely a great addition to this evening. I'm trying to. Here's the word. I'm just going to set it.
I'll call you. Okay. Thanks, Danae. Definitely a tough act to follow there. Thanks again for everyone putting that together. So my name is Brandon Tornes. I've lived in Wyoming for pretty much my whole life, and recently we've moved to Houston, but we were fortunate enough to have Dr. Weisfeld-Adams as Mason's physician. Mason's 9 years old, has cobalamin C, and in Wyoming, the newborn blood screenings all get shipped to Colorado, which is really great for us because it's a great hospital down here. So at 6 days of life, we got this call from Curtis saying that something wasn't right, and we needed to go to our pediatrician and just get some follow-ups to kind of pinpoint what was going on. So, we were pretty shooken up, not sure what to think, but we got in right away. Our pediatrician was on the phone with someone at Children's, and long story short, it was Dr. Weisfeld-Adams, and they were talking about what was going on, had him pull some more lab work, and we were kind of waiting until those labs were done. So we were kind of a mess, didn't know what to think. We had a lot of questions and not a lot of answers at the time, but so we were sitting in the car waiting and figured, well, I might as well feed Mason and then go to Walmart and get some groceries and just be prepared for what's next. And as we're sitting in the car and Chandra's trying to feed him, he just wouldn't latch. He wouldn't feed, and he ended up kind of being lethargic and limp as a noodle. So we were super scared. We marched right back in, and our pediatrician got on the phone, and Wyoming's very rural. Don't have a lot of specialists, and any specialists with metabolic disorders. So we had two choices. We could get admitted to the local Rock Springs Hospital or be life flighted to Denver. And not knowing what the metabolic disease he had was, we chose a safe route and got life flighted. So Chandra jumped on the plane with Mason. I rushed home, grabbed Madison, our daughter, and had someone watch our dog, and I took off on cold December night at about 10 o'clock at night and headed towards Denver. I got there safely. Someone was definitely looking out for us because normally the roads in Wyoming aren't good in December, and I had to go across a mountain pass, so very fortunate for that. Excuse me, sorry. So I got to Children's about 5 in the morning, made it up to Mason's room. Chandra was still wide awake, and we were both in a state of shock, finding out that our son had some kind of metabolic disorder. And like I said, we didn't know what it was, but we knew we didn't need to take it lightly. They're very serious. So So we got a couple hours of sleep, and next thing we know, the NIC unit's having their morning rounds, which is very busy. Woke us up pretty quickly. And after that was done, Dr. Weisfeld-Adams came in with one of his fellows, and he explained that our son very likely had cobalamin C based on what he had seen already. He took the time to explain in detail what cobalamin C was, what the different complications could be, what to expect. And he really took the time to make sure we knew what he was talking about, because it's a very serious deal. He was upfront and honest about everything. He didn't sugarcoat anything or hide anything, and we really respect him for that. But there was something about him that was very reassuring, and I knew that we'd be able to overcome all these lifelong challenges with his help and the help of the rest of his team at Children's. And so we were in the NIC unit for 9 days. Dr. Weisfeld-Adams would check on us frequently, make sure that we were okay. I'm an engineer, so I had tons of questions for him. But he'd do his best to answer all of them, which was awesome. As we were being released back to Wyoming, he explained the frequency of the follow-up appointments, and he offered us to go to Salt Lake City to the Children's Hospital there, and we just weren't having it. Not that it's a bad college or hospital by any means, but the passion that Dr. Weisfeld-Adams had about cobalamin C and just the care that we had, it was a no-brainer. We were going to make the 6-hour drive every time to come see those folks. During all the follow-up visits, Dr. Weisfeld-Adams was always very accommodating. He knew how long a drive we had, and he did everything he could to make it easy on us. He worked with ophthalmology and Dr. McCourt's group to tie our appointments together so we could have them back-to-back and not have extra trips to Colorado. He also helped us set up Mason's labs in Wyoming, so we didn't have to make the commute for that as well, which saved us a ton of travel time and was able to let us see his homocysteine levels quickly and adjust course as necessary. But we always knew that he truly cared about Mason, and he was also very nice to our daughter Madison during our visits, which really meant a lot as well. One of the best things that Dr. Weisfeld-Adams did for us was he participated in Mason's very first IEP meeting, which was about 4 hours long, super long. I don't think he knew it was going to be that long when he signed up for it. But he participated, Dr. McCourt did, Mindy from the Anchor Center as well, and their presence in that meeting was just absolutely crucial. Mason was the first vision kid in a long time in Green River, Wyoming, and so they didn't know what to do, and he helped us advocate and get him vision resources and really set him up for all of his elementary school years as well. So we can't thank him enough for that. My favorite Dr. Weisfeld-Adams memory was on our last clinic visit with him. Got done with everything, we were making small talk, and on that trip, we went to Peppa Pig Live for our kids, because Mason just absolutely loved Peppa Pig. Mason was pretty little, so he took a nap during the show. I'll have to admit, I took a nap during the show as well. So it was a pretty expensive nap, but it was still fun. So anyway, we knew James had a couple of kiddos, so we asked him if they liked Peppa Pig, and without hesitation, he whistled the Peppa Pig tune, and he said, "It's mandatory. It's British after all." So that was a really good time. But we were very grateful that Dr. Weisfeld-Adams was a part of our life, and that he was Mason's doctor, and everything he did for the rare disease community. He has a very special place in our hearts, and we can't thank him and his family enough. So with that, I'll bring Danae and Dr. Baker back up, and Emma, if you'd come up. So on behalf of all of us, here's a word for Dr. Weisfeld-Adams.
Can we have one with your voice in it too?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't sure.
On the docket. So.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Totally sure if I was supposed to talk or not, but you guys wanna come hang out with me? I just wanted to thank you all so much for recognizing James and the impact that he made. It really means a lot to my family. I have our kids here. I have my mom here. I have my brother who is videoing this. He was over there, but I guess he moved. Oh, he's there. He's videoing this for James's parents who live in the UK and his sister who live in the UK and would have loved to have been here. And you're gonna video it? Yes. So just thank you so much. James's work meant so much to him. The last few years of his life were difficult. He was dealing with cancer. He had a lot of different health crises and then just like a deterioration of his health from his illness. But really, he really kept working through almost all of it. He worked until about 2 months after he died. And I think sorry, before. His work continues. Thank you. I can always rely on that guy for correcting me. His work was extremely important to him. He was completely fascinated by the science of it, and he just tenderly loved the community and the patients and being able to feel like he was helping people, and it gave him just a sense of meaning and purpose and being connected to something bigger than his own illness, and it really gave him a higher quality of life in his last few years than he would have had otherwise. So I know he would have been very, very proud in this moment of these guys, and proud of receiving this award, and proud of all of the work and commitment that all of you have done to make people's lives better with people affected by these diseases. So I just anyways wanted to thank you so much. Thank you.